Welcome to the Next Level Podcast with Brian Daniels. Ooh, boom shakalaka.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to a brand spanking new episode of The Next Level. I am your host, Brian Daniels, and today I got the usual suspects with me on this episode. I got Bryce, Big BS, Bryce Schumacher in the house. What's up, Bryce?
What's happening, Domaniacs?
Good to have you here, man. How you doing?
Doing well. Good to be here.
That's good, man. That's good.
Good.
And then we got my my podcast tag team partner, Josh the Undershaver's in the house. What's going on, Josh?
How's it going, Brian? I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad to have you here, man. So, everybody, real quick, we'll take a minute to say thank you, everybody, to listening to our podcast, wherever that may be, whether it's on Good Pods,
Yes.
Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, wherever we are. Thank you for taking the time to listen to our show. It is super duper appreciated. Today, in this episode, we're talking about Microsoft because, ladies and gentlemen, Microsoft turns 50 years old this year, believe it or not, which is pretty insane. And we're just going to kind of, I would say, reminisce about what Microsoft means to us, our experiences with Microsoft, you know, the good and the bad. We are going to talk about the more computer side of Microsoft. We're also going to talk about Xbox because, you know, we got to talk about Xbox, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the company was founded on April 4th, 1975 by Bill Gates and Paul Allen in Albuquerque, New Mexico. It's wild to think about. Clearly, their top selling products have been what they were mostly known for, right? Like the first part of I would say the first half, right? Fair to say, of their company was Microsoft Office, right? The whole, you know, the whole deal between them with IBM, they kind of hooked up with IBM for a while to put Microsoft's operating system Windows on IBM computers.
Yeah, I'm glad you told me what that was because I didn't know Microsoft before Windows. You know, when Windows 95 came out, that was the first I'd really heard of Microsoft.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, you know I love a good history lesson. And so in 1980, the 5 years after they founded the company, they hooked up with IBM. This is a really great movie that I highly recommend. We talk about movies here on this show. It's called The Pirates of Silicon Valley. And you'd be surprised of who is in this film. And if you don't know, I'm about to tell you right now. This movie stars Noah Wyle as Steve Jobs, and you got Anthony Michael Hall as Bill Gates. It came out in 1999. It shows the history between Microsoft and Apple computers.
Okay.
And it's a great flick. Go check it out. I haven't seen it in a long time. I remember like they used to show this all the time. This is the weirdest thing to like remember this. The reason why I remember this movie so much is they showed it all the time on TNT. Like I remember on TNT, they sometimes would show this before Monday Nitro would come on.
Oh yeah.
And I would just kind of catch it, you know, because it's always a good flick. But if you really want to see a more Hollywood version, you know, of what this is about, then go for it. But you know, we're gonna set the Hollywood stuff for a side. So in 80, they formed a partnership with IBM, called with a operating system called OS2. Which ended up making them be more competitors toward that. And Windows ended up capturing in the 90s about 90% of the market share for computers.
It's right there, yeah. It was crazy.
Which is insane.
Turned tables.
Now I'll tell you this. My first experience with a computer was an Apple II.
Mm-hmm.
I never really used a Windows operating system, probably not until mid to late 90s, probably Windows 95, like Bryce mentioned earlier. I was really kind of not familiar with, we were all kids then too, let's be real, right? So for me, it was mostly video game. We never had, did you guys ever have a PC as a kid in your house? Like in the...
Not until I was a teenager. Like
not until you were a teenager? Okay.
Like 98, maybe, somewhere in there.
We had one in the living room, and it was in a little cabinet.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Was it like a Was it a Windows computer? Or was it an
It
Apple?
was. It was a Windows computer,
That's interesting. What if it was IBM?
and I think it was.
Yeah.
I used it to play Duke Nukem and Doom and Heretic and all the
Mhm.
other spinoffs.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
shit like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. My
So
first
you gamed
computer
on the you were gaming on it. I got you. Makes sense.
Yeah, not
first
Mhm.
hardcore.
computers I used were in school, and those were usually either Apples or IBMs. There wasn't any Windows or
Right.
anything on anything yet.
I was gonna say the first computer I played on was an Apple II. And we had in my elementary school, School 78 in Indy, IPS, which is no longer there. We had a computer lab.
Mhm.
I don't know. Did you guys have a computer lab in elementary school?
Oh hell yeah, computer labs were
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
awesome.
Fuck yeah, that
for
was like the
sure.
coolest place in the world, right? When you were a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So I remember going in and sitting in front of an Apple II, and we played the Oregon Trail, or we had
Mhm.
talked about this on a previous episode. Where in the World's Carmen San Diego? Broader Bun made a lot of really cool games. Also played
Oh, yeah.
Math Blaster. Y'all played Math
Yeah, I
Blaster,
was
right?
gonna say you can't forget.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
Can't
Matt.
forget
Word
Math.
Munch. What was it? Word Muncher and Number
Word
Muncher.
Muncher and Math
Yeah.
Blaster were the games. Yeah, one was like Pac-Man, which was the Word Muncher. Was that Word Muncher? Yeah, that was Word Muncher.
It was like a frog, and you'd have to hit spacebar on
That's
all the
right.
verbs or all
That's
the
right.
adjectives, and then they had
Yeah.
a math one too, where you had to like, okay, they put up an equation real quick, and you had to,
Yeah.
move around and eat the answer.
So I remember my first foray into computers being Apple, but I did not have a Windows operating system until probably man, I didn't grow up with computers.
I
I
mean,
never had a
it's
computer in
understandable. Yeah.
yeah, I never had a computer in the house because like at the time, computers were way of a luxury item. Like
Hmm.
I remember
Right.
going
Like age wise, we're right on that precipice.
yeah, like they weren't they were really expensive. And I remember seeing
Mm-hmm.
them in like service merchandise. You guys remember that store? Like service merchandise
Yeah,
or fucking Montgomery Ward or Woolworth. Now I'm really showing my
Mm-hmm.
but like
right.
you see them there and when you're a kid, the whole world's big, right? And when you would
Right.
go up to these little computers, it was huge because the screens were bright and
Yeah.
it was just like this
Never,
whole other world, right?
never
Now,
seen anything like it. Yeah.
yeah, and then I will say
Mhm.
I had one of those like do you remember when like the talking computers were popular when we were kids? The little like they were like LCD and they were red, almost like a speak and spell, but it was like a
Oh
computer,
yes.
little bitty
Mhm.
like thing with keys on it. I
Mm-hmm.
had one of those as a kid. That don't count. But
Right.
Not count.
I never actually had my I didn't get my first PC, desktop PC with Windows on it until Windows XP. I never messed with Windows 95
Mhm.
because my
I
family
got
was
one.
we
I
were
think I was
poverty
like
stricken.
13 or
Yeah.
14 when I got my first PC for like Christmas or my birthday or something.
Yeah. Now see
It
when
was
I was a
Windows
kid,
95.
when I was a kid, I was video
95.
gaming.
Hmm.
Yeah, I was a kid, I was video gaming. So like I didn't
Hmm.
really I don't think I
That's all
even
I wanted it
realized
for too.
yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
realize how massive video games were on PC. I just thought it was just stupid little point and click shit like
Hmm.
Oregon Trail. And I
Yeah.
never
No.
even heard about Doom until I was like maybe 16 or 17. But I had
Oh,
already had a
boy.
computer. Yeah, bro, I'm not even joking. So my very first computer was a Dell, and I got one because I thought those dude, you got a Dell commercials were funny.
Hmm.
Remember that shit? Remember that guy? Like
I think
the
my first one
you
was a
know,
Compaq or a
mine was a
HP.
oh for real, yeah, mine was a Dell, and then one the other really cool like I guess the Lexus of like computers back then was like a Gateway. Remember Gateway?
Oh
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
We were called
It had
Yes.
a
Gateway
little like
Country.
cow symbol on it. It was like a
Yeah,
black and
Yeah.
dude.
white cow
Yeah,
pattern.
That's the first thing that popped in my head was the cow symbol. Yeah, you're right.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So Gateway Country was kind of like the precursor to like what are the shops like a Micro Center today, but like specifically just
Oh
computers.
man. Yes.
And we had a Gateway Country in on the south side of Indy when I lived down there when I was like in my early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And I went in there and it was like the cool shit. But I had my first computer of my own. I was 17. I remember playing the 3D Space Cadet pinball game. You guys remember playing that? Like the really fun
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
old graphical like pinball game that was just super basic
Hmm.
and small. Mm-hmm. And I remember playing like Minesweeper.
Right.
Man,
Solitaire.
Minesweeper. Dude,
Fucking
I was
Minesweeper.
almost 30 years old before somebody told me there was an actual way to play Minesweeper.
Right.
You didn't know how to play
Yeah, I know.
Minesweeper?
For
Oh
most of my
man.
life, dude, I was upset when I
You
found
didn't
out.
know what the numbers meant? Like like if they're red, that means it's close and it's the line is like
No,
so many spaces away. Oh, brother.
I just thought it was a shitty
Yeah.
game.
Nah. So you just opened it up, was clicking, and you died, and you'd be like, all right, it's dumb.
Fuck
And
yeah, there weren't any
I
instructions.
I knew
That
that,
taught me
but
how to do anything.
it took
that's
me a
funny.
while to figure out that you could flag certain spots
Yes.
that you
Mhm.
thought were like potential bombs, so
That's
you
the real
didn't
game
accidentally
changer
click it.
when you
Yeah,
slag them.
that's
Yep.
when my game changed for sure.
Yeah. And then of course, solitaire, like
Yep,
banger of
tons
a
of
card game.
solitaire.
I played a shit ton of solitaire, spider solitaire.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
Just all the fucking card games. And then I remember just there for a while I didn't have a laptop or a PC. And
hmm
so did you guys used to ever go to like the computer lab at the library and use the laptop or use the computer there? Anybody?
Not
I never
not.
did that. No, just at school library. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, when I got older, because I didn't have a computer for a while, I think I had to sell it for something. I
yeah,
would go
Yeah.
to the library and get on the
nice.
computer, and play like Yahoo Pool and shit like that. All
Chess.
Microsoft stuff, using those
Yes.
computers. And it's so funny because like outside of an Apple II, I thought that was the only the computer they only had. And I didn't know there was other ones, but
Oh.
because like I just said, they had 90% of the market, right? Um,
Right.
Microsoft did.
Yeah.
And
hmm
Microsoft wasn't selling computers. They weren't a computer company. They were a software company,
Right.
right?
Yeah, they were
Whereas Apple
selling the operating system.
was
Right.
Apple was a hardware company. And I think there for a minute they were actually like talking about partnering it up.
Right.
And what's
Putting
funny
Windows
is
on Apple
if
machines.
we're looking, I'm kind of going through the history here. Microsoft Works was an integrated office program, which was basically the precursor to Microsoft Office.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Actually saw its first release as an application for the Macintosh in 1986. So they did partner up for a while,
Hmm.
and then I think what ended up happening was like Steve Jobs
Money.
wanted it was money, yeah. I
Right.
It's
don't think
always
he
money. It
wanted
is
it.
literally always money.
It's always money. It's always
Mm.
money.
The money started coming
Yeah,
coming in.
Yes.
absolutely. That's kind of how it is, man. And
America.
the world was so small, like before the internet,
hmm
right? Like
Right.
um,
Yes.
we weren't as connected as we are now,
Right.
and Microsoft kind of helped with that, by having their operating system and everywhere,
Yeah.
and anywhere it could possibly be. So we get into 95,
There was a
and
a quote I like that said,
yeah,
the internet has made the world flat again, the earth flat again. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Just
yeah.
because
Oh wow. Yeah.
it's made everything right in front of us. You know what I mean? We have
So in
access to
90,
everything. Nothing's a mystery for the most part anymore.
right. So in 95, Microsoft released Windows 95, and they released Windows 95 without a web browser because
Start it up.
Microsoft didn't quite seem to think that the internet was going to catch on.
Right.
So they they were apparently surprised by how catchy the internet had been.
hmm
So they ended up
Okay.
approaching a company called Spyglass to license a browser, Internet Explorer. And that's how we got Internet Explorer, which is still, well, actually, it's not around anymore because now it's Microsoft Edge, right? It's not even Internet Explorer anymore. It's Edge
Living
now.
on the edge.
Right. So I don't remember using a whole lot of Windows 95. I think the one time I did use it, um, where was I at? Like some store. It had to be a store. Do you guys remember Netscape Navigator? That was the that
Yeah.
was the browser
Yeah.
back in the day, right? Like I think that was the first browser that like I used. probably everybody did, was Netscape Navigator. And then Microsoft's like, oh, no, we got to make our own. And so they licensed it out from Spyglass to have Internet Explorer. So we get through the company. They end up entering the personal digital assistant market. You guys remember PDAs? I'm not talking about
the
display
little
of affection.
the little Palm Pilots or whatever.
Little Palm Pilot, yeah.
Pocket PCs.
So Microsoft actually in '96 released Windows NT 4.0, and they actually put Windows on PDAs, which is kind of crazy.
Oh, okay.
They wanted to get into more devices like that,
right?
So in '96 we got Office 97. Office is still huge today. There's Office 365, which is the current product of that.
Subscription-based
Excel
now, right?
spreadsheets are a staple for any business. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you have Word. Word, people like to use word processor. That's how you type up most things nowadays. Although I don't really use Word.
Digital documents.
I haven't used Word in a long time. I don't really think I have a use for it. It doesn't really apply to what I do.
Right.
In 1998, we're getting to the later years. Bill Gates appointed Steve Ballmer as president of Microsoft.
Right.
But Bill Gates remained CEO. That's when Windows 98 came out. I do remember Windows 98.
Yeah.
And then we had Windows 2000, which was a failure.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember when Windows was inside the Dreamcast? Anybody remember that?
Yeah. It was it was like stamped on the Dreamcast on the front by the controller ports. It said like compatible with Windows CE or something like that.
Yeah, so it had,
but I never knew what it was for. I could never use it. It never got any use.
Yeah. So Windows, and
you're talking about it.
Yeah, so they put CE into the Dreamcast, which a lot of people were kind of thinking, oh, the Dreamcast is going to be like a computer.
Right.
And
it's got a modem.
You couldn't browse the internet because it had a modem, right? Which I still think is the most interesting piece of tech for a game console. It has a modem that detaches from the console. You guys ever play with that?
Well, it had a 56K in it. Well, they were thinking this is going to be they're gonna expand on it, and you can slap on a 128 or something. You know what I mean? But it just went straight Ethernet after that.
So Microsoft comes out with XP. I think Windows XP is still the best version of Windows like ever made.
I agree.
Yeah.
Before
we
even had this conversation, I was thinking about it.
Yeah, I think about it all the time. Like, it was the most well-designed operating system. I think that the current versions, which we'll get to now, like Windows 11 and stuff.
When was that out? 2001 or 2?
Yeah.
2001.
Yeah. 2001. Yeah.
They were like, we got to get Windows 2000 out of here real quick.
Yep.
We got to make sure people know.
They're like, we got to get away from that. We got to move.
Yeah.
Move past that like fast. Get away from that fast. 2001 was a very special year for Microsoft as a company because not only did they do operating systems, but guys, this is when they decided to go into the game console market. Now, would you guys believe this is God? We're so fucking old. Almost half the company's existence has been with Xbox. Isn't that nuts?
Right.
Is that not
2000? Yeah, 2001. Yeah.
This year we'll celebrate 24 years.
Right.
Nuts.
So we're talking almost half of the company's existence has had Xbox part of it. That's just that was the stat I was going to throw at you guys earlier.
In 2000 they were also excited because they beat Y2K.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there was a Y2K glitch. If you're a Gen Z or or maybe a what I don't know what they call the fucking younger people now.
I don't know.
You might not know about Y2K. There are people that are 25 years old that did not know what Y2K was. Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy to think about.
Right. Insane. Y2K was this real big glitch in the Windows operating system that people were afraid of that was going to just fuck up everybody's like hospital records.
It was going to shut down the world.
It was going to end the whole entire world. And I don't even know why I never even thought about this.
Because they thought that it wasn't going to, it was going to reset back to 1900 on the timers on all the computers. Right. So everything that took place ahead of that time would then have like an error message and be inaccessible because all the dates were incorrect. It wasn't going to roll over to 2000. It was just going to roll back to 1900.
Right. So the Y2K refers to the year 2000 problem, which is the formatting and storage of calendar data for dates in and after 2000, like Bryce had just said. So people were worried because the final two digits represent the year. And so everybody was worried that, as Bryce had just said, everything was going to fall back to 1900. And so everybody was like, oh, this is the end of the world. Do you guys remember
all the power plants are going to shut down? And
yeah, like, do you guys remember the end of the world parties people were like going to throw and shit?
Right.
That was insane.
Oh yeah, people were eating it up.
So that was an issue, right? The Y2K thing.
Right.
And people were so afraid of that thing. It was so funny to me.
It caused so much hysteria, and it's funny because it's such a thing of the times that there are so many different TV shows that tackle it. There's in a whole My Name Is Earl episode that's about what they're doing at Y2K.
Wait, are you serious?
Yeah, and it's like one of the bigger fill in the plot holes of the series, lore, if you will, episode 2, and it's what's going on during Y2K.
Nice.
Yeah, I remember people like throwing like into the world parties and shit.
People legit thought the world was gonna end, dude.
People were like in New York City going on the top of roofs and like,
I mean, people were spending New Year's Eve in church, you know what I mean? Like, because they thought, it was going down.
Yeah, it was insane. So back
all
to
over Steam computers.
Back to Xbox. We got to talk about Xbox for a little bit.
Yeah.
So of course, Microsoft decides to get into the console market, which at the time was pretty heavily dominated by Nintendo and Sony, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it.
I will never forget the reveal of the Xbox. The Rock was there.
Yeah.
And it was Bill Gates.
Yeah.
You guys remember that shit? Like,
I do. Rock, it was epic. I was so excited for the Xbox when I was like following in development. The Rock was there because
they had the wrestling game, WWF Raw.
Mm-hmm.
That was
and he's the Rock. That's how you sell shit.
He's the Rock, my guy. Yeah. So Microsoft gets into the console market, and that when they were getting into it, they were releasing in the generation with the PS2 and the GameCube. Yep. All right. Mm-hmm. So two really great. That was a great era in gaming. Even with the Xbox.
Yeah, I love the Xbox.
Banger titles,
And they were entering the market with something that nobody else had: the Ethernet modem.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Xbox
Ready
Live.
to go.
Xbox
Live, and although I think that came 6 months or so after the Xbox launched.
Yeah.
But they also had. Did PlayStation 2 have a DVD player?
PlayStation 2, you had to buy. I think you had to buy a thing for it to play DVD.
No, that was the other way around. For the Xbox, you needed.
Oh yeah, the Xbox had a player. You had to buy for it.
You had to buy a remote and a sensor that you plugged into one of the controller ports in order to use it. But could you watch DVDs on PlayStation though?
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure if that was something Xbox did.
So the PlayStation 2 also had online capabilities. Not many people remember this.
Yeah,
they had.
They weren't really few games. Yeah, involved in it a lot.
But it was different because, unlike Microsoft, PlayStation didn't have a UI. They didn't have a service,
right?
Like they have now, like PlayStation Network. They just had online.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think the modem came later. You had to it was an attachable modem. A separate piece that you had to buy.
And you got to understand, Xbox is the first company to really kick off having a service for online connectivity. Because we didn't have PSN, we didn't have Nintendo's network.
Online, yeah.
We did not have Steam, right? We hadn't had Steam yet.
Right.
So, I mean...
We didn't have Discord. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we didn't have Discord. We didn't have any of that stuff. So, I mean, it was a time when, we were just getting gamers were starting to get connected
Right.
on a home video game console.
Right.
Well, they also had the like the system link. That's right. You could do like LAN parties with your Xboxes.
Well, what was cool was I was too poor to have the Xbox when it came out, so I had a friend of mine from the church I went to at the time who we came over and played. Well, I think we played Brute Force. You guys remember Brute Force? It's like a 4-player.
Dude, I loved Brute Force.
Yeah, it was good.
Talk about a great exclusive. Like for the first Xbox, man, that was one of the all-time great games for sure.
They also had Fusion Frenzy, which was like a party game.
Oh yeah,
that was another good one. Yeah,
that was a good one. We went over to his house and played that shit. But I remember when you had to go to the store and buy Xbox Live, and it was in a box. And I still have a box, although it's not my original box, but I have that box.
Yes,
you got the headset. And you got Crimson. What was that game called? Crimson
Tide.
Skies. Crimson Skies.
Skies. Yeah.
And which a lot of people don't know, the guy who voices the main character is also the voice of the dude from Uncharted, by the way.
Okay.
Nolan North. It's Nolan North, yeah.
Nolan North, yes, thank you.
So Nathan Drake. And it came with the headset, and you got like a year. And a really funny story is when I went and bought I think, Josh, you've seen my box, my OG Xbox Live box, the subscription box you got. When I got that from Goodwill, like 6 years ago, okay? This is a really funny story. So inside it came with 3 months of Xbox Live, right? And that's what came with it when you bought it back in what was it, 2002? When Xbox Live came out? Something like that?
Yeah, it was somewhere around there. Yeah, I remember, yeah.
Yeah, and so I took it out of the box, and the card was still not scratched. I was like, no fucking way. And so I plugged the code in because I plugged the code in and they still use the same like alphanumeric code system.
Yes.
So I plugged the code in and it said this code does not work. Call Xbox. So I called them and I was like, hey, like I just bought this from a Goodwill. And the guy's like, can you like take a picture of the code and the receipt? I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
And they gave me 3 months of Game Pass.
Nice.
That's good on you. That's what's up, Microsoft. Good on you for like still letting me use a code that because the code didn't have an expiration date. They didn't have them back then.
Right.
A lot of them now have an expiration date. You have to use it with so many months or years. So
yeah.
So Xbox Live was real revolutionary. They had their own like dashboard. Like it was like a thing you had to go
hard drive.
And there was menus, and PlayStation 2 had online cable. They didn't have their own cool menus or that.
Well, you could rip music from your CDs and play that directly into games, and that was so cool. And you couldn't do that on PlayStation 2.
Yeah, that was sweet. Yeah, you can make your own playlist too. Make a custom playlist.
And I never really didn't use Xbox Live until 360 era, which I'm sure we'll talk about that here in a bit. But I remember, I didn't get in online gaming until 360 era. There were just like
I was all over it on Xbox, the original Xbox with Halo 2 and whatever I could get. Yeah, I mean, the game that made me buy my first original Xbox, it'd been out for a few months out, but I was kind of on the fence of getting it at first, and I was over at my buddies playing it, and we were like, let's go rent a game. You know what I mean? So we went to Blockbuster and rented a physical game. We were just browsing through, and Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind popped out, and I was like looking at the case, I was reading it, I was like, man, this looks like the game, you know what I mean, that we gotta get. And we took it home and played it, and I couldn't stop playing it. And so I eventually went and bought my own Xbox that week just so I could start playing that game some more.
Excellent.
Yeah, I never played Halo 2 online. I played locally with my friends. You have 4 players on one screen.
Right.
Which sadly those days are over.
It did have 4 controller ports on it.
It's amazing to me how You can't do it now with better technology, but you could back then.
Right.
I'm like,
you think we would be able to wirelessly
players on
do
the
it? You know what I
console.
mean?
Like you would think we'd have more players on the console now.
Right.
But I think the problem now is online is so much more intricate than it was, complex than it was than
Yeah.
years
And it's convenient. You know what I mean? People don't have to all travel to the same place. You
Yeah.
sit in the comfort of your own home, and we got the voice chat and
I mean,
everything
yeah.
at our fingertips.
My we'll talk about Xbox for a little while. I have a love-hate relationship with Xbox because, like, for me,
Hmm.
I know what the company was, and I don't really care for the company who they are now.
Right.
Um, I,
Yeah.
they were. It's like what happened between the 360 and the Xbox One. I, I mean, you had a company who just were banging out games, man, like just banging out
Yeah.
banger games.
I mean, 360 was dominating when it was out.
Yeah, it was dominating the
Oh,
market.
yeah. It
Like
was.
they
It
were
was huge.
killing it.
Everybody had 360.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Detachable hard drive so you can upgrade space size, wireless
Yes.
controllers, Wi-Fi adapter, even if you wanted to upgrade it. Yeah, I mean, and then
Yeah,
just
I
all the
mean,
quality of the games and graphics and internet. The Xbox Live service really sold the 362,
yeah, it's just
and
insane to me.
then being able to start using apps, like Netflix and YouTube and
Yes.
stuff like that,
Yes. You're right.
crossing that line into the PC world a little bit.
What was weird to me was that not even a year
Hmm.
later after the Xbox 360 came out, we got Gears of War. Actually, it was a year later. It was like a year and 2 weeks later.
Oh, I love Gears of War so
No, it
much.
wasn't. Take it back. Take it back. The
Back in the
Xbox
day.
360 came out November 22nd. Gears came out like November 5th of 2006. So almost a year later, we got like the first big exclusive for the new console. And
Right. Which
now
is
it's like,
crazy.
where are those at now? Like,
Hmm.
Right. They're going to PlayStation.
yeah. I mean, we
I
talked.
mean, Gears of War will be on PlayStation eventually here
Yeah,
soon.
I'm sure. It just
They're working on a movie. I mean, they're
for
trying to.
me, it's not so much about the exclusives as it is like
Yeah,
like
I mean,
like when Xbox made the stupid decision to have like their first reveal for the Xbox One be all about watching TV.
right.
I was like, because like I was on the road at the time. I was on a job that took me all over the Northeast, United
That's right. I
States.
forgot they had the pass through. They had like the HDMI in and the HDMI out, so you could plug your cable or cable box
Game
into
box
the
in.
back of it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I
I
forgot
just
about that.
remember my friends telling me, "Oh, the new console got revealed," and I watched it and I was like, "This is kind of shitty." Like, I don't buy Xbox to watch uh, game shows and movies. That's what my cable box is for.
Yeah.
They just want you to
And
never turn that thing off.
and then right, and then I'm just like, where are the games? I had to go to my hotel that night and I was watching the what is it called, the fucking showcase, whatever. And all I heard was TV, 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 TV. I'm like, where are the games at? Is this a?
Right.
Are you guys not a gaming company? Are you guys not a gaming company anymore? What the fuck happened? And I feel what happened was
Hmm.
they got too it got too much of an ego after having such a successful console in the 360 that they forgot like that we're gamers and we can smell bullshit a mile away.
Yeah, they wanted to
Right.
You
Yeah.
cross
know?
a little bit of a line out of just being a game machine and being more of a all-in-one
Yeah.
entertainment box for your living room. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. And the thing about that is that for me, it's like you guys like fumbled the ball so hard. I mean, remember that, Don Matrick, he was the guy who was telling Jeff Keighley, well, if you don't have an Xbox, just stick with the 360.
Yeah.
No.
You guys remember that?
When
Yeah.
everybody was mad about the Xbox One reveal because they were also talking about the like the DMR stuff, you know what I mean? Like how
Yes.
the gaming digital rights is gonna, you have to be online to play offline games so they can constantly check your data licensing rights or whatever, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was all up in there about that. They're like, so like why do I have to be online to play stuff like
Well, let me tell you, kid.
that? That really turned people against Xbox right there and
No,
Microsoft
yeah,
a bit.
absolutely, yeah. It's funny because it was such an era where everybody was so wishy-washy because it was the beginning of this like console wars, if you will. So like little things like that would just make people absolute diehards for the other one for the
Oh
rest of
yeah.
their life.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. It was you're losing tons of people at once if you didn't make the right move. And then probably never getting them back usually because it's like I always stayed with Xbox because like after a while of being on Xbox, it's like I've built up this long list of friends on it. I've got a huge library of games. And nowadays, most games are crossplay where, few generations ago or so, the last two or so, there wasn't a lot of crossplay with,
Mm-hmm.
PlayStation and PC.
Mm-hmm.
So now that that's a thing, that's kind of kept
Yeah.
me on Xbox too. It's like, now why do I really want to switch? And then it comes back to exclusives is the only thing that really would make me pick one over the other because,
I
Right.
mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that, like I understand. Like
and those
for
aren't
me,
there. You know what I mean?
yeah, for me, it's we kind of talked about this a couple episodes ago. I I think that exclusivity is a good thing in the sense of if your only focus is selling hardware. Um, and the gaming industry is always changing, right? Is that fair to say? Just
Yeah,
an evolving beast of
for
an
sure.
industry that, we are the guinea pigs that get messed with in the process.
I mean, yeah.
So, um, I was a big fan of exclusives and, oh yeah, you got to have them, and now I think from a business standpoint, I can see why Xbox is I kind of get what they're trying to do. It's kind of
Right.
they're playing 4D chess and then everybody else is playing 4D checkers with them. And it's like, I get why they bought Activision, all the other companies. And my original goal was, oh, I know what they're gonna do. They're gonna like make them exclusive. Gonna make them all exclusive. Call of Duty's gonna be exclusive. But like all the court cases that came up, and it was like, yeah, there's no fucking way they're gonna make Call of Duty exclusive. That's like
Right.
monopoly.
And they did, yeah.
That's a monopoly. They're not gonna legally be able to get away with that shit.
Right.
So I was watching the videos with Phil Spencer, who's the head of Xbox still,
Mhm.
and he was talking about, oh, we're gonna let some of our exclusives not be exclusive anymore. I'm like, okay,
Right.
weird. I get it now. I think the goal is because companies don't make money with hardware anyway, and I don't think a lot of people realize that the big three, they don't make money off of consoles. They don't. Like it's nice for PlayStation to say, "Oh, we outsold Xbox 10-1." We'll say, right? Like big numbers. Fine, that's great. But as a company, you make your money off of your first party titles or your
Right.
games. So the real money is is in the software. So
And
I think
services.
X I think Xbox is wanting to do this hybrid sort of deal where, and I mentioned this on a couple episodes ago. Josh, you weren't here for that, I don't think, but
Okay.
I think what Xbox is wanting to do is Game Pass is the exclusive, not the games.
Right.
Like you can have Indiana Jones on PS5 and Xbox, but you're only going to get day one for free on Xbox.
On Game Pass, yeah.
Game Pass.
Yeah. Well, eventually they'll try to
or PC.
Clouds say, oh, I'm sure they're trying to push to get Game Pass on PlayStation or anything, Nintendo, anything that'll let them. You know what I mean?
Right.
Mm-hmm. But I think that's where it's going, and
I agree. Yeah.
Is it a smart business move? We won't know yet. Once I think it's Forza Horizon 4 is coming out on PS5 first, and then Indiana Jones.
Okay.
So we'll see how it goes. But I don't know. I mean, Sony does so well because of their exclusives. They have banger games.
Right.
Oh yeah.
My problem is Xbox hasn't had many banger games.
Yeah.
Even Halo Infinite was kind of mid.
Yeah, they're just buying up companies that make good games and then saying, now this is a Microsoft Studio game,
Which sucks because that's not even really their game. It's not even really their game they made.
Right.
It's somebody else's shit they made. And Xbox just slapped their name on it.
Right.
So I don't know how I feel about that. But I don't know, man.
They're clearly
just
investing a lot in the Game Pass if they're putting, 60 something billion on Activision and however much they bought Bethesda and id.
I mean, Game Pass has been doing pretty good.
Yeah.
But there's no
I've
denying.
been paying for it every month for years.
Yeah, I have too. I've had it
for
since
2 accounts. I pay for one.
I've had it since it started.
Yeah, me too.
Like day one.
I don't think I've ever turned it off.
I had
auto pay.
I've never not had it. Yeah, I've went months without PSN or Nintendo Switch Online, but I've never not had a month of Game Pass. And that's just how it's been. I would say probably right now if I buy a game, depends on what I want out of it. Like I love the DualSense Edge controller, so there's some games where I'm like, okay, if it's a first person, I'm probably going to play it on PS5 because I like the feel of the clicking of the trigger of the weapons and stuff. Right, that's a nice feeling. I don't know, but Xbox has been doing that. They've been around for 24 years almost, and that's definitely now, I'd say, the other bread and butter of Microsoft. If you would have asked me, as a teenager, I think Microsoft would ever do video games. I'm like, yeah, right. No. So, but they're here and they're still here. Yeah. I remember when the Xbox 360 was unveiled. They got Elijah Wood to unveil that. You guys remember that?
I don't.
Mm-hmm.
No.
It was a big MTV thing.
Okay.
I think that's why people say I'm an Xbox fanboy. I'm not. I think I have them all. I enjoy them all for different reasons. Right. But I feel that Xbox was always like they had that rock star mentality.
Yeah.
They had people that you knew who their executives were, but like they didn't feel like Major Nelson.
Yeah.
Sony didn't have a guy like that.
Right.
And Sony didn't have that, I guess you could say, Americanized branding. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what really shows. Because of the big three, Xbox is the only one that's an American company, right?
Right.
So they have that in your face, over the top superstar, and of course, as an American, I like that a lot, right? So when I'm with Sony, I'm like, I don't really know Sony though. Like, I don't know many of the. I know there was like Adam Boyles, who was the guy that made God of War. I forget that dude's name, but he's doing podcasts now.
Mm-hmm.
But they not that they're forgettable, but they're just not memorable.
Right, yeah.
And that's not a diss to them. But it's just they weren't really as in my face as Xbox. Like, do you guys remember you guys remember the good old Xbox contest? You make your own game. You guys remember that? The Doritos.
Not.
Oh yeah,
challenge.
The Doritos. That's right. There was like the I played a few of them. There's like
what was that?
You drive around a little
fuck was that called?
Dorito delivery truck. There's like dinosaurs. You can either play as the T-Rex. I think you play as the T-Rex trying to eat the delivery trucks, Or you can play as a truck, driver trying to avoid the dinosaur while you make Dorito deliveries.
Yeah, they had. So what Xbox? See, this is what's cool about Xbox.
I
Xbox had some
though.
cool shit like this. So it was called Doritos Unlock Xbox Contest.
I vaguely remember that.
Yeah, and you watched all the episodes on your Xbox Live account. They were like exclusive there.
Mm-hmm.
And the two games that won were Harm's Way and Doritos Crash Course, which was the game that won. That was the game that actually won.
That's right. Crash Course.
And Crash Course is like this American Ninja Warrior style game.
Yes.
Where you're running from left to right across a bunch of obstacles. And that was cool as shit. Now, what I will say, do you guys remember? This isn't Microsoft related, but it's related to the same thing. I will say, Sony had a really cool contest too. Does anybody remember it at all?
No.
At all?
I'm thinking
it was called The Tester. That was their contest.
Oh, that was a TV series. Yeah.
It was a TV show that was on PlayStation.
Yeah, I remember that now. Yeah.
And they had all these people, and the goal was to win a job at Sony as a playtester.
Nice.
That was a lot of fun. They did like 2 seasons of that.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah. That was good. That was good.
But yeah, they had that. They had that. They did like another one too with like Mountain Dew. I think Sony sorry, Xbox did a Mountain Dew thing. I don't remember what the Mountain Dew thing was, but I know they did a Mountain Dew thing too. But of course, we wouldn't have Master Chief, probably one of the most iconic video game characters. We didn't have Microsoft getting into the game industry. Let me ask you guys a question. This is just a what if. Do you guys think Microsoft, how different would Microsoft be if they never got into the video game industry?
I don't know. Maybe they would have been more successful in their other things that failed, like the Windows Phone or the Zune.
Oh God, you had to go with that. You had to bring that shit up.
Bring up the Zune.
Thanks, Bryce.
I still got a Halo 3 edition Zune.
Wow.
In the
but
box.
Do you guys think they would
still?
Do you think they would still make it? Like, do you think they'd be okay?
Oh yeah.
They never got into.
They're still doing Windows. Windows is still hot.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Microsoft Office package is still hot. Now they're charging like a monthly fee for it, I think.
I feel like there's a parallel universe.
Standard.
I feel like there's a parallel universe where Microsoft never got into video games. And it's like, what does that mean for Sony and Nintendo? Right. Like, and that's the thing too, is like you have to kind of wonder about is
maybe Soulja Boy's console would have done better.
Oh, fuck off. I gotta bring that dumb shit up. We should do an episode about like knockoff video game consoles. That'd be fun.
Oh man, like the Super Retro Plus.
Yeah, like that shit.
Yeah.
Or the ones you see at the mall.
Maybe
you see them at the mall, and you're like,
maybe the Dreamcast would still be around if Microsoft hadn't ditched them, because there's something to do with their agreement that kind of killed the Dreamcast off pretty quick, I think, if I remember recollect correctly. I thought there was some issue with Microsoft's contract with Sega, and they got screwed over.
Shit.
So maybe the Dreamcast would still be around.
He's like recollect. That's funny shit. Then we got Windows Vista, which God, what a fucking shitty operating system.
Oh, that's right. That was what they made for tablets, right? That was like their tablet Windows.
No, it was the direct successor to it was a successor to XP.
Okay.
That's why you don't remember it, because it sucked ass.
Yeah.
I remember that name, but I don't think I ever used it.
No, it sucked.
If I did, I hated every second.
Like they did so much different shit with it. It's so fucking bad. Like it was trash. It came out November of 2006.
Yeah.
And then like it just quietly like went away. Like after a few years.
Yeah.
It came out once Windows Vista. See, Windows Vista was out in 06 and then it ended in 09. So like 3 years. It was
Yeah,
that
it was
bad.
bad.
Is
Was it
terrible.
which one was the one that had the tiles? You know what I mean? They started doing the tiles because like tablets were getting hot.
I want to say that was Vista.
Yeah, I think it was Vista. They had like tile
Maybe.
mode.
Yeah, maybe.
So it would be like big
Something
squares for
like
you
that.
to touch screen, touch screens type of stuff. It
Quite
was hot
possible.
then.
Right.
Yeah, they were doing that shit. Yeah,
But on
Vista was
PC,
such
it
a
was terrible.
forgettable trash. Was such a forgettable trash, and I think a lot of people would agree. It's such a trash fucking like operating system.
Yeah.
One of the worst, probably
Even
the
worse than
worst.
2000 probably.
That was also a forgettable one too.
Yeah. But I'd say
Yeah.
Vista is probably worse.
Super, super awful. We also had so about 2 years after that, or 3 years after that, we get Windows 7.
7.
We get Windows 7, which Windows 7 was also not that good.
Yeah.
And I think 7 was the titles. 7 is when the tiles started.
Is it?
Like
Okay.
you hit the start menu, had a whole tile
Right.
thing. That's when that started. Yeah. Yeah, that shit was terrible. They did the Windows Phone around that same time.
I had one.
Did you guys have a Windows Phone?
I did because I was
I did too.
a big Zune user and a big Xbox
Yep.
fanboy, so I was just
Yep.
like, I'm getting
Right,
Microsoft
yeah.
everything,
Yeah. I had it all.
and it was nice. I liked it a lot. The
I was deep
tiles were
into their
nice.
ecosystem. I was
It like
balls deep in their
flipped and
ecosystem.
changed pictures, and the music, like
Mhm.
sound, was really good.
Yeah, I'm looking
Real
at one right
easy.
now.
I was paying for the Zune. I think I had the. I think it was I can't remember what model it was.
It was a strong one, yeah, for sure.
The
It
Windows
was like
Phone was
it was like a thin
something.
one that like it would like slide up. You like push the screen up, and the little keyboard came out underneath it,
Oh, that's interesting. Like a
or something like.
sidekick.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it was like sideways. You know what I mean? And then the screen would kind of pop into position and prop itself up a little bit, so it looked like a
Okay.
mini laptop,
Yeah.
essentially. So you could like text on the keyboard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Quickly.
Yeah, they stopped selling Windows phones in 2015.
Oh, right, yeah.
I had
Yeah.
one, and yeah, it was kind of cool. You could like look at your achievements on there.
Mm-hmm. You could
You
earn achievements
know,
on there, play
you could earn achievements
games.
on
Mhm.
it. It was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had that. I never. Did you have a Zune?
I did.
I did not have a Zune.
I bought many Zunes.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Let it get the new model.
terrible.
I think I had one for my wife at the time. I
I had
had
an
one,
iPod.
we were
I
all
had an
Zuning.
iPod. I was
It
an
wasn't
iPod guy.
until once they canceled Zune and canceled Windows Phone, then I
Yeah,
finally got an iPhone.
you
So
got an iPhone.
I went to the Sprint and I was like, I need a new Windows phone. They're like, there aren't anymore. And I was like, well,
We're
what do
stuck.
you got?
You're like, well, so much for that shit.
iPhone 6, here I come.
Yep.
Let's talk about this is one of my favorite pieces of Microsoft history to talk about. The Microsoft Store. Anybody ever go to a Microsoft Store?
I've been in one or two briefly.
Right, yeah.
Never
No
bought
fun.
anything there, but
Yeah.
Mhm.
Microsoft stores are no longer around, which is sad. Makes me kind of sad.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I was very deeply involved with the Microsoft store at the Keystone Mall up in Indy, where I'm
Mhm.
from,
Yeah, that's the one I've been
and
to.
that's the only one they had
Right.
in Indianapolis. And I made so many friends there. That's
Mhm.
where I first got to look at the Xbox One and Xbox One X and
Nice.
play all those. They had some pretty fucking cool launch parties and all kinds of shit. And they
Mhm.
did a really dope launch party for Halo Infinite, which was fun.
Nice.
I met a few of the Colts players there several times.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It was a vibe. I actually almost got
Right,
a job
yeah.
there. I actually almost got a job there. I was so mad they didn't hire me. Like I had to give a presentation. Like I had to go to the Microsoft local headquarters, which was behind the mall in a building, and I had to give a
Oh yeah, yeah.
presentation. had to give a presentation on like video games. I was like, this is fucking dope. Hell yeah.
Nice.
Something about mashup. I never
I'm
got
your
hired
guy.
though. But the stores were cool. I wish they would bring those back. I miss those. They had only 116 stores in the world.
Right.
And I don't know, man. It kind of brought back that gateway country. Remember we talked about that earlier?
Right. Yeah.
Like that was a kind of a cool place to go to. But this was way cooler. And I remember what was it? When Xbox One came out, they had a Killer Instinct tournament, Remember when that game was huge
Yeah.
for Xbox
Well,
One?
yeah. Well,
And
yeah.
they had a big tournament. I almost won that, and I hadn't really
Nice.
got back into this fighting game scene since. And I remember going in there, and they had those really cool. I still want one. You guys remember those briefcases they would make where that had a monitor built into the back, and they had an Xbox inside of them.
Yeah.
You could flip them open,
Yeah.
and it was basically like a traveling Xbox.
Right.
They sold those. I was like, man, I want those so bad.
Right. Yeah. They did
that
the
was
same thing
also
with like the Series S. I think they
they
started
did the
doing
same
that.
thing.
Right.
Yeah. They also had a really cool. I remember at the Fashion Mall there, Keystone Mall, right in front of the store, they had a Forza Horizon simulator there. So like you would sit in a chair, like a
Nice.
cockpit, and it had the 3 screens,
Hmm.
so you could see your side mirrors and your rearview mirror. That was pretty dope. And then when I found out they were closed, I was like, man, that sucks, man. Like I would have totally worked there. I'd have a blast working there.
Yeah, should have gone there more.
But the pandemic shut them down. That's why they're closed.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately. And believe it or not, their last store just closed in January of this year.
Mm.
Their flagship experience center in London closed on January 31st. So that sucks. I mean, there's Apple Store still. And that's kind of what they were trying to do. They were trying to compete with the Apple
there's
Store.
little stragglers here and there.
Yeah. Apple has more products, so phone,
Yeah.
what tablets
more.
and whatnot.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens when you're not just a software company.
Right.
Although Microsoft's now a hardware company, we can say that now. But I would say Microsoft's still way more software than hardware.
For sure.
But so that was something I wanted to talk about. We briefly talked about the Zune, but there's really not much you can say about that fucking thing stuck.
One thing I do want to mention that I like about the Xboxes and their whole input into the video game world is that they were, still willing to try different things that maybe Sony wouldn't do.
Yeah.
With like the Kinect and
we'll talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those were I always liked that about Xbox, and Microsoft, was that they were always trying to do something new with the technology rather than just upgrade everything and package it and sell it to you again. Sony kind of gets into it a little bit, but they try to get into other things that are safe, like VR. Like it took Oculus and Meta to be successful in VR before Sony's like, okay, let's try VR now, and
right,
it's failed.
Yeah, the thing about it is Microsoft, they had that HoloLens thing. Did you ever hear about that?
Yeah, man, I was so excited for that. It never became like a consumer product, though. I think they just use it in like businesses and military type stuff.
Yeah, it's like $3,000.
But yeah, it looked like it was.
But it was never really meant to be like a competitor to like
piece.
the PSVR. Yeah.
Right.
Let's see. Microsoft also ended up getting into the tablet market with the Surface. I never had. Did you guys ever have a Surface tablet? I never had one.
I have not. I've always wanted one, but
they look cool.
Yeah, they look decent.
Yeah, like a little fold up.
I've had iPads before, and
I have had an iPad before. Yeah. They also came. Then we got Windows 8, which the Windows Phone 8 was announced. That was in July 2012.
Mm-hmm.
We got the Kinect, which came out with the Xbox One's release. The Kinect, man, Kinect.
Well, they had one on 360 though as well. The 360
one.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right. 360
gained more
had one. I forgot about that.
I think that one was more successful than the Xbox One version. It just had better games and
one thing I want to talk about
still
with the Kinect and the Xbox One. The one feature I wish Xbox would bring back is the Snap feature.
Yes. Why did they take that away?
That feature.
That was such a cool feature.
Like being able to like if you got stuck in a game,
just pull up a YouTube video right on the side
Xbox,
right there.
Snap, YouTube.
Right.
And then it would and that was what I did like about the Kinect. I didn't care so much about the motion sensitivity shit. I don't care about that.
Yeah.
I like voice controls. I use Siri, I use Alexa all the time in our house. A lot of the times when I'm sending you guys text messages, I'm using voice.
Right.
And now the being able to do that is so much better now, right? You can you guys would never know a lot of the texts I send you guys aren't even ones I type. But for me, the Kinect was like the snap feature was so great. Like, you could snap in. You could be like Xbox, snap in ESPN. You could watch a football game.
Yeah, it would just take
while
up
you're
like
gaming.
1/3 of your side screen, and while you're still playing your game on the other 2/3.
And for me, so when I used to have Twitter, I tweeted out one thing I really wish Xbox would bring back would be the snap feature.
Right.
I said I felt like it was the most underrated feature on a console. And I think it was the most underappreciated feature a console's ever had. The ability to snap in, and say Xbox snap in.
That was one of their selling points at launch on their launch video presentations was the snapping.
Yeah, and I remember actually having a full-blown conversation with a few Xbox devs that were like, "Are you serious?" Because my tweet got like a lot of likes and stuff.
Right.
And I had about 2 or 3 Xbox devs that are like, "We really had no idea people missed this." I'm like, "Yeah, we missed it. Bring it back, please." It's fucking great.
No, for sure. Like just because you get rid of the Kinect doesn't mean you have to get rid of that feature. You don't have to you can use voice commands through your microphone or whatever, or hook up Alexa or something to your Xbox to do it,
or make a controller like the DualSense and have a mic built into the controller.
Right, or just have some button command. Once you hit the home menu, just hit like a quick snap button. Press select to snap an app or whatever.
For me, it's just I miss having that as a capability, and I hope they bring it back.
Nobody else was doing either. You know what I mean? Like
nobody still has done that. Sony hasn't had that. Nintendo definitely don't do that shit. They're still behind in shit. But I definitely, the Kinect was a gimmick. I mean, the game sucked.
I think the 360 Kinect was an attempt to get people that wanted to buy a Wii on Xbox, because Wii was kicking ass with their motion sensing.
Without a doubt.
So they're like, well, now we got to do motion sensing, and and Sony did it too. Everybody jumped in there. It's like when those sorts of trends happen, it's usually the one. There's one of them that does it the best, and it's usually the person that does it first.
So we're jumping into 2014. Microsoft decides to do this weird thing where they don't come out with Windows 9, they go straight to 10.
Right.
I think the reason for that was isn't like the number 9 in Japan?
10th one?
Well,
maybe was
no.
The 10th version of Windows?
Let's see, why did they skip? Oh, that's actually the first thing that comes up.
I think it was the 10th Windows, maybe.
Oh. They said after the negative reception of Windows 8, the company aimed for a fresh start with 10.
Okay.
And I guess it was a psychological play to distance themselves from the absolute atrocity of 8. 8 was pretty bad.
So bad we have to skip 9. We want double digits now. That's better marketing.
Well, I think if you look at it, when you get double digits, it always looks better. I mean, look at our podcast. We're triple digits. That's pretty fucking cool.
Right.
Like when I get to put triple digits on an episode, I'm like, that's what's up. We did that many again, nice. So I do think it's a psychological part of our brain that like when we see a higher number, it's a good thing. That's just kind of how that works. So I get it. And from a marketing standpoint, it makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
So they got Windows 10. I think right now we're on Windows 11, right? Yeah, we're on Windows 11 right now. Windows 10 was not bad. Windows 10's decent. I'll even cut to the chase and get to the current operating system. Windows 11 is really good. I kind of like it. I really miss XP. I still think XP was the absolute best OS I've ever used.
That's what I have the most experience with. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know, it just felt right, right? Like, I don't know. I
Hmm.
can't really like place it. It just felt right.
No,
Um,
no, I agree.
you know,
I
but
absolutely
Windows
agree.
11 works pretty well. I mean, you have they did
Yeah.
away with the tiles. Thank God, all the tiles are fucking gone. You have a proper start menu.
Hmm.
Although it throws me off that the start menu is no longer in the bottom left corner. It's like right in the
Oh,
middle. It was fucking weird.
oh,
For
Oh,
11.
I'm still on Windows 10 on this
Yeah,
PC
yeah.
I'm using.
so 11 on the bottom you've got like this watch list idea thing you can click in the bottom left where your start menu usually is. And
Hmm.
then you go, I would say about 4 or 5 inches over to the right, and then you have a start button. That's your start menu, and
Mhm.
it pops up right in the middle. But man, that aesthetic of the start menu popping up in the bottom left corner like, was the best. And now it's gone, and it feels wrong. It's
I
just
don't, I don't,
weird.
I don't like it anywhere else. Yeah.
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 Um. So in 2014, in February, Steve Ballmer steps down as CEO, and he is succeeded by the current CEO of Microsoft, Satya Nadella, who previously led Microsoft's cloud and enterprise division, which makes a lot of sense where the Xbox division is at now, because they're really focusing on cloud gaming. So it really makes sense
Yeah.
why they're focusing on cloud gaming when you have a guy who was the head of their cloud division. Now he's
Right.
the head of
Right.
Xbox. Bill Gates stepped down from the CEO. I'm
Hmm.
sorry, stepped down from the chairman role. John W. Thompson is now the chairman of the board. In April of 2014, Microsoft bought Nokia for $7.2 billion,
I didn't know that. Okay.
which is wild.
Nokia. Yeah.
Um, and then September 15th of 2014 was a big year, and they
Mhm.
closed it out by purchasing Mojang and the game Minecraft for $2.5 billion.
Billion.
Brilliant purchase idea
Oh
Brilliant
yeah,
idea.
they've
Probably
made so much
one of
money
their
off that.
best purchases as a company.
ever.
The Minecraft movie has become the best opening
Yeah,
video game movie ever.
Fuck
yeah, I
the
didn't see that
movie. Have
coming.
you had the
$300 million
McDonald's nugget
dollars,
sauce?
I might go
right?
watch it this week. I might go
three
watch it
hundred
this
million
week.
dollars in the opening weekend.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Um,
they've already
it's
almost got
crazy.
their money back on the game just from opening weekend.
Just from the movie.
Yeah.
Just from the movie. Yeah, right. So then we get Phil Spencer announcing that he's going to be merging the PC and Xbox divisions, and he ends up doing that in 2016.
Yep.
And we're approaching a very grim time for the company here soon.
Yeah.
Uh,
For everybody.
for a reason. Um, and then Paul Allen, one of the founders of Microsoft, passed away in 2018 after complications of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Mhm.
Um, so the only other founder left is Bill Gates. And
Hmm.
and then we get into 2018.
Oh man.
2018. Guys, 2018. If you don't know what happened in 2018,
Remind me.
um, 2018, well, actually, I'm sorry, 2014. I don't know why I'm saying 2018. 2014 was the year the Xbox One came and really took a big shit on the company. But in 2018, we're getting towards the new generation of Xbox.
Mhm.
We're getting towards Xbox Series S and X,
Yeah.
which is still the current generation. Um,
Yeah.
2020 actually is what I was going to talk about. The um, we get the we end up. Oh, what's about Mixer? We forgot about Mixer. You guys remember Mixer? Oh
Yeah,
my
that was
God.
on Xbox One. It was
Oh,
their
No,
answer
not at all.
to Twitch. But it was like built in, so it was like super easy to use. I used
did
it
you
for
Oh
a
ever?
yeah.
bit.
Let's say, did you ever stream on there, Bryce?
Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah, I
sure.
did too.
I think I only streamed on there until they shut it down
Yeah,
Oh wow.
because you
yeah,
couldn't dual stream that, off your Xbox like that.
yeah, yeah.
And it was just built
I
in. It
did
was
too.
easy to do, and
Super easy to set up. It was fun.
Yeah.
They closed Mixer down in 2020,
I forgot about Mixer. Good old
and they
Mixer.
partnered with Facebook Gaming. And even still to this day, you cannot stream to any other platform on an Xbox console but Twitch, which I think is
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
stupidest thing. Like,
Yeah. What the hell?
I've never understood. I feel that these consoles are a little behind because streaming is the biggest thing now, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
huge. It's huge. It's
It's not
everywhere.
hard to program into the dang thing. You know what I mean?
Well, you
Right.
would think with all the money
Yeah,
they
you
got, they only
would
got a
think.
few
Yeah.
billion. They only got a few $1 billion. Like you think they'd be able to do
Right.
it.
Yeah. No big deal.
I mean, even PlayStation will let you do YouTube. And you can't even do fucking YouTube on an Xbox. This
Unless
is
it's just like
ridiculous.
some kind of like rights issue with the company, like YouTube or whatever other
Yeah, I don't
streaming
know.
apps there are. Like maybe they have to get YouTube to actually program
Yeah,
the Xbox app, and YouTube's
yeah,
like, no,
I
that's
think
too much
so.
resources. Why the hell would we do that? Like,
One
Right.
thing that I never understood about modern gaming is I feel now in 2025 you shouldn't need a $3,000 PC to stream. Like,
Right.
why doesn't consoles have that ability?
yeah.
Like,
I mean,
you
yeah,
know,
I didn't spend that much. I got my PC for about 200.
sure,
And
and you don't
I'm
have
able
to
to
spend that much money.
I'm
Yeah,
able to stream, but I mean, it's not like, what
I think
like it's not like a big streamer would be, I mean, they definitely
I have a decent like Victus gaming HP laptop,
Mhm.
and I can handle
Right.
most things,
Right.
and I can stream.
Yep.
But I mean, a $500 to $600 video game console should have like OBS and stuff built into it.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, you know, like it's like
Yeah.
the PlayStation camera. That's a joke. Josh and I talk about this shit all the time.
Yep.
The
Yeah.
PS5
Oh yeah,
camera,
it's
it's like
terrible.
$60 and it looks like it came from like fucking 1992.
It's
Yeah.
Like
garbage.
you
It's
can't
nuts.
even
It's a
fucking
freaking toy.
like it looks like shit. It looks like dog shit. And
Good.
even Xbox lets you use whatever uh camera you
USB.
want.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well,
it's
that's a
fucking
nice thing
weird.
of when Microsoft being tied to Xbox and Windows, because the two softwares communicate easily with each other. So
Right.
it's not, I mean, you can use almost anything that a Windows can run on an Xbox.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just well, I mean, now you can even emulate video games on an Xbox. Like you put your console in what's a developer mode and you pay for a developer account, and you can fucking
Oh, right.
emulate shit. And
Yeah, yeah, I forgot about that.
if you want to do that,
Yep.
I do feel that there's more capabilities on an Xbox console than there's a PlayStation console. But I
Mhm.
have them all. I like them all for various things. I said that earlier, but you
Yeah.
know, so we had the
Mhm.
pandemic, and then Microsoft goes through the pandemic, and that's when shit starts to go bad again. You know, they come out with the Series S and X. Scalpers are everywhere.
Mhm.
Because of the pandemic and shipping and things, and everybody has a stupid hard time trying to get the console they want. And you know, that's been 5 years ago, guys. Can you believe that?
Right.
It's crazy that these consoles are only out 5 years now. And Microsoft announced Windows 11 in 2021, came out in October of the same year, and that's kind of where we're
Mhm.
at. That's kind of where
Right.
we're
Feels
at
like
right
so long
now.
ago, but not. Yeah.
One big thing we have to talk about, we kind of touched on this a little earlier, is in 2022, January 18th,
Mhm.
Microsoft acquired Activision Blizzard in a 60, this is an all cash deal, by the way, worth
Right.
$68.7 billion, all
Right.
Oh
cash.
wow. Wow.
Um,
Chump
so
change.
In
so
briefcases.
right, in multiple briefcases. So of course they now own, Warcraft, Diablo, Call of Duty, StarCraft, Candy Crush, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, and
Mhm.
everything else.
The
Um,
classic.
a massive deal. That
It took
was multiple times over
a
tried to
long
stop.
time. Yeah, a long time to
You know,
actually get over a
yep,
year, I think.
lots of court cases and things. I forgot to mention this too, but they also acquired Bethesda.
Hmm. and
quite a few years ago
I think
too.
was in that same
And
purchase.
id, yep, they got id, yep, who makes Doom
And a few others.
a few other things. Microsoft was just kind of starting to purchase up more and more video game companies. They finally closed that deal in 2023, so 2 years ago now almost. And then in 2024, Microsoft became the most valued publicly traded company at the time. Pretty crazy. And that's kind of where we're at today. Guys, I want to know how do you guys feel about Microsoft as a company right now, like where we're at now in 2025 and in the future?
I mean, they've done a lot for my entertainment. You know what I mean? The Xbox is a great product. I've always enjoyed it. Windows, another great product. You know, it's had its hits or misses, as everything will, but it's definitely, just changed our world a lot, you know what I mean? Especially with the internet, you know what I mean, coming along as well. We might not have had the internet without, some kind of operating system to, you know, interact with computers, you know what I mean, through computers and develop all that stuff, that technology that went into it. So, and a lot of that probably happened on Windows, being that it had 90% of the market during that time, in the 90s and whatnot, when the internet was really starting to become a thing. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely had a huge influence in business and entertainment. And in the future, man, I don't know, like it's like they're gonna try to do everything if it makes money. They'll be a Microsoft car if they can find a way to do it. You know what I mean?
Oh, I'm sure charge people money for it too. Absolutely. Yep, absolutely there is.
Right.
Yeah.
Rent the Microsoft car on your next vacation.
Now, Josh, I noticed you've been pretty quiet about this conversation. I know you don't really do a lot of Xbox stuff. Like, how come you don't really play a whole lot of Xbox? Like, what is it? What is it about Xbox that doesn't really it doesn't really jive with you as a gamer?
I don't know. I just stuck early with the PlayStation side of the console wars and just kind of dug in. But I will say that the original Xbox though was a console that I absolutely loved when I was in high school. When it very first came out, because there were so many cool things that could do that the PlayStation 2 couldn't. I had both. I was very fortunate. Granted, I mowed a lot of tongue tied there. Mowed a lot of lawns and did some, odd jobs and shit, and basically came up with my own money for them. And that's why. But I had both the original Xbox and the PlayStation 2 at the same time. And I played them both interchangeably.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard once you've had a console for a while, like to jump ship. Like I was saying earlier, you start to build a library of games and friends list and all that stuff, and it's hard to get something that make you change like fully every generation that it comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, I've never really been mostly one way or the other. I've kind of went along with the changes in the industry. Obviously I started out as a Nintendo guy, a Nintendo kid. And then, I think I've always had like all the consoles. I mean, I was a spoiled fucking kid. But for me, it's I'm one of those people that it's not like I have a fear of missing out. I just don't want to miss out. And there's so much that is out there now, and I'm just like, I gotta play it all. I feel like a lot of times I have to consume it all.
It's endless.
And it sucks,
it's like I want to play every video game ever made.
And then it sucks because I feel like I never finish a game. Like I start 40 different games, I never finish one. Like right now, I'm trying to finish the RoboCop game because I'm like, I gotta finish that.
Oh man,
nice.
You gotta finish it.
I haven't finished it
Peyton, my youngest, and I, we finished it like 2 weekends ago. It's good.
Yeah.
I know.
And
I just bought 2 new games last night, and it's like I still have like endless games.
What'd you pick up?
The Darkness 1 and 2. They were both on sale.
Yeah.
They're both on sale and had insanely good reviews. I got them both for a total of $11.
Have you played them?
No.
Hell yeah.
Oh,
and I got them all for
free
free pretty much because I had $25 in rewards already.
Oh, nice. So good.
Yeah, dude. So I got them both for $10 to
Yeah.
So, and I've heard they were great. So,
yep.
Yeah, they're pretty great.
You don't even have to be a fan of the comic.
Right.
Everybody in the reviews wants a third one though, because I guess it doesn't end, or like the story doesn't get resolved.
Yeah, the story doesn't end in like the second game, but I haven't played the second game forever.
Yeah.
So maybe one day they'll do a third one.
Maybe, yeah.
If you're listening, Microsoft or 2K Games or whoever.
Well, guys, we do appreciate your time, but that's all the time we got for this episode of the Next Level Podcast. And thanks everybody for listening as the three of us kind of go through the history of the 50th anniversary to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Microsoft.
Happy birthday.
As we talk about talk about them as originally a PC software company and then their evolution into a video game company and crossing those both of those lines. And we do appreciate all of you for taking the time out of your day to listen to us ramble on about this company. And you can leave comments on our Spotify. So let us know in the comments, how do you feel about Microsoft? What does that company mean to you? And whether it's good or bad, leave them down below. Or if you listen to us over on Good Pods, you can also leave comments as well. Or if you listen to us over on the domain Gaming, Pop Culture, and Entertainment, we're the podcast for that company, which is our company that we run, our content creation company. You'll listen to this on YouTube. You can definitely leave comments there as well. We respond to those all the time. But no matter where you listen to us from, we still appreciate you all the same, and thank you for listening to our show. We'll see you guys on the next episode. Until then, see you guys.
Thank you. Adios.
Peace.